Our project was Dance on Bones, which was a multidisciplinary theatrical experience that was part of Towson's 150th anniversary celebration. And this collaboration brought together students working with faculty mentors from across 4 departments in the College of Fine Arts and Communication. And those departments were the Department of Theater, the Department of Dance, the Department of Music, and EMF, all working together to create a unified theatrical experience in celebration of our sesquicentennial.
They fought hard until the day they were forced.
One of the challenges we faced was in each discipline there are different ways of analysis that the students use to approach the work. What we tried to do was encourage their vision of David's piece, because the piece itself is not a dramatic narrative form. Dave works in the oral tradition in storytelling, and this one was based on ancient forms. Each page was a choreo poem on its own, and so we enabled students to approach each page with their own artistic vision depending on their discipline. One of the challenges we then faced after that was to translate or transform their vision into a collaboration with the theatrical art form, because ultimately this was going to be a production on stage. One of the exciting things students experienced was we were turning the tables for them. Usually the students are looking to us for, gee, what am I supposed to do? How am I supposed to do this? And in the rehearsal process, at least from a theatrical point of view, I was turning it on them saying, what do you want to do with this piece? Mm-hmm. How do you see this? And then how can we both work with each other as theater artists, musical artists, choreographers, and create a piece that is reflective of the core of what David was writing. So they were really excited because they were empowered with incorporating their visions of the piece. And I just stood back and said, let's make it theatrical, see if it works.
I think a couple of things came out of this that went to student learning in particular. One was Peter really opened up the rehearsal process and said, if you're available, please join. And so we had students from the dance department as well as from the music department in that rehearsal process on a very regular basis. And I think that enhances student learning because it enables them to see how this process works within theater, but then take that back to a dance rehearsal, or the next time they're prepping for a performance of a piece of music that they've written, they're picking up rehearsal techniques out of the work that Peter was showing them and then being able to bring that back.
One of the other aspects of student learning was that they realized the piece was constantly evolving and changing and shifting right up to the last moment before we opened. Mm-hmm. In addition, students learned that their learning continued globally. We had several students who were actually abroad at the time who were making adjustments to their pieces. So what they realized was it's an ongoing process. It's never potentially refined to its finished form.
And because of the collaborative nature of this and the partners that we worked with, the students that were abroad making adjustments on their pieces could also watch those pieces because we collaborated with the EMF department and the online TV station that we have at Towson. So those students didn't just get to participate in that they sent their work in and it was done. They sent the work in, then they gathered friends in Prague and in Scotland to sit and watch that work online. So it wasn't just a matter of having that collaboration be something that they participated in. It was also something that they got to witness as an audience member as well. And I think that was part of the exciting thing about this was getting to really loop it out of, you have to be in this space, or you even have to be at Towson to contribute and to have a learning experience. And so that was one of the more enriching parts of this.
And one of the other things we recognized was that once the production was opened and moving through for a public performance, students were still talking about the effects that the work had on the audience, mm-hmm. and we're still talking about what things were changing and what was working, what was not working. So it continued on beyond the project, and we were excited to think that the students were continuing to talk about that.
I would recommend this type of collaboration to other faculty, and I actually think that this project set up a pretty good rubric for that within our college. It was one of the first times that we really looked at colleagues from all of these departments and said, wow, this is what we can do when we really marshal our forces to try to achieve a singular goal. And the response from the colleagues in other departments were, wow, I didn't know your students were so professional, and we could look at them and say the same thing. And so students and faculty, I think, really gained an appreciation across disciplinary boundaries for the potential that the students brought, as well as the training that those students are receiving from the faculty. For students to show up and really be able to engage and get that kind of work done, no matter what their discipline, was really rewarding. And so I would really recommend this type of collaboration. I think it enriches not just my faculty experience and the knowledge of colleagues that really stepped up and said, I want to work in this way, but also the students that felt the same way as those faculty did.